I'm just hanging up a poem my husband wrote me. I'm not even going to read out the poem. I'm not even going to do a husband reveal. I just want to insert this into a video so I can show off. For his own privacy, it's not going to be read out loud. And I don't think he can read it from that far away. So good luck to you. Anyway, don't settle for less. That's all I'm saying. I used to cry over a boyfriend that would text other girls, and then I would be made feel bad because like I felt like I was invading his privacy even though he was texting other girls. Now I have someone sending me poems in the post, so don't settle. That's all I'm saying. Yep. Now, put that in your pipe and smoke it. I started this painting in my last flat, so ages ago. Can't even fucking remember the picture I was trying to copy. So I'm just going to try to do it from memory. Also, I haven't picked out the questions for my story, which I'm going to answer, so it's going to be my like raw, honest reaction of whatever the ones that stick out to me first. I am also a bit wired, had a lot of white monster today. First question, what's the one thing you love about yourself? I think I'm very creative. I think I'm good at giving advice, but not so good at taking it myself. So that's one thing I could work on. How to get rid of victim mentality. That's a good one actually. I think the best way, Jesus. I'd say the best way is to just like put things into perspective. Whatever issue that you have, someone definitely has it worse than, oh my god, yellow paint went everywhere. Whatever is your problem, someone out there definitely has it worse than you. I broke my camera yesterday so it doesn't zoom anymore. Feeling like a disaster. Day in the life of a manic pixie dream girl. I really woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning, like very disorientated. I wanted to get loads of work done, but I actually woke up at 1 p.m. Yeah, so needless to say, feeling very shit about myself. It's now like 4 when I should have been doing this a while ago. That's not interesting, is it? Go on, Paul, you good thing. Let's give him a serious jawline. I don't necessarily think I'm good at art in any way. I'm not doing this because I'm good, I just like doing it. So if anyone's like, Jesus Christ, the state of that, it's not because I think I'm good. I definitely not. So yeah, don't get it twisted. I don't think I'm good in any way. I just like painting because it's therapeutic. Very bad, very bad. That's a brilliant idea, Keelin. Oh yeah. How do I stop being a jealous person? Thief of joy, definitely comparison. I just like spend a lot of time trying to compare yourself to your past self instead of like other people, because then it's more relative and more realistic to be able to like improve yourself in terms of what kind of external factors are affecting your life and what like materials you have directly that would influence your work, I suppose. Because sometimes if you're like jealous of other people, they have completely different, what's that called, resources than you and stuff available to them that have brought them to the place that they are at now. And also you're just not that person, so you were wasting your time feeling jealous of whatever they have and whatever you want. If you go internally, am I making any sense? If you look to yourself, have a more internal experience, you'll realize that you probably do have everything that you'd ever want in your life, and you wouldn't swap your life with them if you got to know all the negative parts of them. Because sometimes I find myself feeling jealous of people, and then in retrospect you look at all maybe the negative things that they haven't. Oh, it's not green enough, it's too black. You look at all the negatives that they have in their lives and you're like, I actually wouldn't change my life for the world, and I wouldn't swap positions with them at all. Because then if you did have to swap positions with them, you wouldn't have the same friends that you have now, you wouldn't have the same family, and then you'd lose all of that. And I also like getting these things of like feeling jealous of other people, and then I realize like there's probably loads of people that are jealous of me, like all of my wonderful friends and my wonderful family and siblings and stuff. And then I'm like, I'm being an ungrateful slag for getting jealous of other people when I have it great, you know? Maybe I should use a different brush. I actually prefer oil paints, but I don't really know how to use them properly, so I'm always just using acrylic because it's like the easiest thing to use. But I'd love to be able to like be good at oil paints. I might get into that. I might fucks with that soon, to be honest with you. Sorry, I should answer more questions. I wish I had someone to read them for me. Do you miss being in a relationship? I'm not necessarily single now, so I can't answer that question presently, but like when I was single, no. Because I was actually just a lot more anxious when I was in a relationship than when I was single. Even now when I'm talking to my husband, even though I am very secure and feel fantastic, best person ever energy, I'm still have moments of like, oh my god, he's going to find out the real me and like not like me anymore, you know, and that's a horrible feeling. But when you're single, like, you don't have that worry, because all you have to do is please yourself, which is way easier, and then you can like focus on your friendships a lot more, have a lot more introspective experiences. No, I really enjoyed my single time, and I missed my ex sometimes, like as a person, but I would never missed being in a relationship, because I can do all those things with my friends, obviously minus the sexy parts, but like you can find people to have sex with pretty easily. Obviously, like, one night stands doesn't equate, you know, intense lovemaking really. Yeah, at the moment is that too oversharing? Anyway, there won't be a husband reveal for people asking or wondering that. There won't be one in the near future, so don't be asking me. But I'm sure I feel like there's people that are really good at finding out information and will just like figure out who it is very easily. For the moment, I've kind of learned from my past experiences to not be so public about my relationships. Even my friendships, like, people ask me questions, where's Emer, are you not friends anymore? Just because I'm not living with her. But at the same time, like, I don't need to explain every single part of my life to the internet, even though I know I've put myself in this position of like oversharing and using this as a video diary sort of situation. But just because I'm not spending time with someone doesn't mean that I've cut them out of my life. And it's not even that I'm not spending time with them. Sometimes I just don't post people. Like, just because you don't post something on the internet doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It's like, you know that saying, to be seen is to be perceived is to be, what's that saying? To be perceived is to be real? What? I can't even remember. Anyway, there's some philosophical saying being like, if you're perceived, that means that you're real. Otherwise, there's nothing else proving your existence. But it's gotten to the stage now where, like, if something isn't on the internet, then it's not real anymore. And all of a sudden, like, me and Emer's relationship, it doesn't exist because I'm not posting her every day, which I find crazy. Like, I obviously talk to her every day, but I'm not, like, screenshotting our conversations and putting them on my story for obvious reasons. Where was I going with this? Anyway, next question. Tip on believing in your art when you create. I'm not really making any of these things for anyone else. I like sharing my writing online just because it's like a quick fix of validation, I suppose, because I know people will resonate with it in some way. But in terms of like physical art, as in paintings and that sort of thing, which I don't consider myself like an artist in that sense, because obviously I'm not great, I just do it for fun, and it's so easily criticized. Just keep instilling the idea in your head that, like, if you're happy with it, that's all that matters, because everything is so subjective. Whenever I write something, like, I never really want other people's opinions on it. I'm just like, oh, I want to share this because I think it's nice. Does that answer the question? No, probably not. I really want to just do this and listen to music. I might just film this without me talking and then maybe do a voiceover on top of it instead, so that we're more concentrated later. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna put music on and then I'll do a voiceover. I'll do a voiceover instead.
Okay, I feel a bit more concentrated now. And I know I just went on a big rant there previously in this video about how I'm not going to do a husband reveal, but I just uploaded a poetry video. I actually just can't help myself. It's a very bad impulsive nature that I have, so I think it's pretty obvious who it is now. But anyway, first question is, how do you not feel lonely and empty and bad when someone leaves? And I've been through this myself, when you base all of your validation off one person. And as well, I'd be partial to being in terms of my personality, with being codependent on someone else and probably like basing my worth off of someone else, that to the point where I don't even know who I am if I'm on my own. And this is like the most valuable experience that you can have, is go through a stage of rejection from someone, because you find out a lot about yourself, how you can be more independent. Because now I'm in a position, after going through that in my life, that I am completely my own person, very independent, and people go through it in different ways, so I can't necessarily give you the tools on how you can go through this, because people go through it in like, it's a very different variables that go into play in terms of finding out who you are. But yeah, I think it's a really, really valuable experience, and you might not see it as that now because rejection is very, very hard, but just know in a few months, it could be even a year down the line, where you can look back on it and be like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck was I thinking? And as cliche as it is, everything happens for a reason, so that person, for whatever reason, wasn't meant to be in your life, and it might take you a while to realise that. Next question is, what would you recommend for a person who feels attraction only for unavailable people? I also went through a phase of this as well very recently, probably over the summer, and it all boils down to just not being ready for a relationship and knowing that subconsciously but not actually admitting it to yourself. So just try to look a bit deeper and have an introspective experience, write down your feelings and try to figure out why you're doing that, because it might be to fill a void, it might be the subliminal messaging of what you're consuming, like romantic movies and that sort of thing, where you want to feel that but you're not necessarily ready, so you're going for people who are unavailable to you. Because I know that's for that was the reasoning I was doing it. It might be different to you, but that is the advice that I can give from my own personal experience. Next question is, am I a lesbian if I have a boyfriend and all that, but can only watch lesbian porn to get off? Now, personally, from my own experience, I go through phases with my sexuality, because I do believe that sexuality is a spectrum. I'm not necessarily bisexual all the time, like bang in the middle. Sometimes I go through phases of like months at a time where I'm more sexually attracted to a woman or like feminine features, and then other times where I'm more attracted to like masculine features. Obviously from the perspective of viewers or perceivers of my life, it is very much apparent that I'm only interested in men because I've only had boyfriends. But when I've been seeing girls and stuff, it hasn't been as obvious on social media and that sort of thing. So I don't know if people are aware of that, and it's not really anyone's business anyway, but I do like sharing my life a lot. So yeah, I go through phases, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you are just one end of the spectrum. It just means that you're maybe going through a phase, and it's perfectly fine. And as well, we are conditioned in humanity and society to over-sexualize women, so that could be an element of it as well, where you're only finding yourself sexually attracted to women because of the media that you're consuming. So just to be aware of that as well. Next question is, do you find that after finding your own style, men complimented you less and women more? So personally, when I've kind of come into maybe a little sweet spot for myself, because I know that for myself it is an easier living experience if you do slightly succumb to the male gaze and the halo complex, where you're just treated a little bit better if you are more conventionally attractive. And that's a fact. That's not from just my own personal experience. There's like studies behind that and evidential proof that is factual, that if you are more conventionally attractive, you just have an easier living experience, and maybe you're a bit more privileged. I'm sure everyone has heard of pretty privilege. But I found like it kind of a nice in-between stage for myself, where I'm not losing myself in that process, where I'm trying to fully succumb to the male gaze, where I'm not myself. Because I know I'm saying personally and not, it's obviously my favorite word for this video. Anyway, I found that the easiest way for me to find the most male validation is when I have long bleach blonde hair and I'm basically not feeding myself enough, where I'm underweight. But that is more like what's that word called? Like pondering the whole like pedophilia thing, where it's only like hairless, young looking women that are seen as attractive, which is obviously inherently creepy and fucked up. So I'm at the in-between stage now where I'm fully embracing myself, and definitely I probably notice a lot more women complimenting me, but I find that more what's that word I'm looking for? I think the word I'm looking for is valuable. So I value a woman's opinion. Oh my god, sounds so misandrous of me. But I do now, I'm at the stage where I value a woman's opinion more than a man's, because if a man compliments you, it's like a form of immediate gratification, but also because of all the things I consume, like feminist literature and stuff. I know that if a man compliments me, it's more for my objectification or aspects of my physical appearance that can be objectified. For example, like my tits and ass, like literally, you know, all the shallow things that I don't actually really care about. When a woman compliments me, it's more for my artistic values. So maybe my writing, the way that I carry myself, the things that I wear, and the way that I treat people. I feel like women value my whole energy as a person, and yeah, just my artistic ways of living that feels more true to myself rather than my physical appearance, which would be what a man would comment on. Not my husband, but I haven't met any other guy that actually sees me for who I really am, if that makes sense. But they do exist. That's not to say they don't exist. They definitely do, because I've found one myself. So don't you be worrying about that if you are heterosexual. I don't know if that's my demographic though. I don't know if anyone actually no. I'm being small-minded. No, I'm sure a lot of straight people watch my videos. Next one is, do you believe money brings happiness? Now, I definitely do think that money brings peace and content, because a lot of stressful stress, stress in general would derive from lack of money and not being able to financially support yourself, and that's just very evident in the society that we live in. Like with capitalism, if you don't have money, you literally are fucked, because there's not a system in place for people that don't have enough money to financially support themselves. You are blamed as the person rather than the structure that you're within. But I definitely don't think that any tangible thing or entity can bring you happiness. I think happiness is such a fleeting emotion that just comes randomly, and it's not necessarily brought on by anything that you can put into words or explain or like write down in a list, for example. I think tangible things can bring you content and peace, like spending time with your family and being in nature and things like that. But I don't necessarily think that those things can onset a feeling of happiness or total jubilance but that's just my own opinion. I don't know if that's true, but that's just from my own living experience that I've found that. So I do think that money just brings it relieves a lot of stress, but it does not bring happiness, and it's not something that should be valued. And I used to actually really believe that, especially when I went through the phase of doing OnlyFans. I thought that me doing all this money would outweigh all the negatives of doing it, but it actually didn't. It made me feel a lot worse, even though it did relieve a lot of stress, and I was able to support my friends and family and like do nice things and buy people presents. But that wasn't bringing me happiness. It was just relieving stress that I would have had if I didn't have that money, and it outweighed all the negatives that were that come with doing OnlyFans. Next question is, would you ever just run away and start over? I have this thought literally constantly. I cannot, for the life of me, cannot get rid of it. Even if I'm really, really content with my life, I still have this voice in the back of my head being like, run away, never talk to anyone ever again. But I definitely couldn't, because a lot of my inner peace comes from my friends and family and the love that is that surrounds me in my life. So I don't think I would ever do that. I do toy with the idea of eloping a lot, and I do think there's an element of romance in it, because I'm a very impulsive and intense person, but I would just come back to my normal life after that. So to answer your question, yeah, probably, but I would most likely return very quickly. And if I was to run away, I'd want to run away and bring the people that are in my life now with me. Next question is, what colour is Ellie? If you don't know what I'm referring to, in my Reading My Diary Entries video, I explained how I see people in colours. So Ellie is a deep, deep, dark purple. At the moment, she's a bit dimmer, so she's like a mauve. Is that mauve? Mauve? I'd never know how to pronounce that colour. So that's the kind. She's like a faded pastel purple at the moment. But during the summer months, she's very much like bright, deep, dark purple. I'm not going to go into detail about it. It's like she's a bit more of a private person than I am. And then Saoirse is a baby pink, and sometimes she flickers between fluorescent and then like kind of a dull. She has had a bit of yellow in her as well, like mustardy yellow too, but at the moment she's baby pink. Next one is, would you go on a road trip with me to be forest nymphs in the woods somewhere? Most definitely. That is one of my dream getaways, or like holidays, is to travel the world in a van. That's like the only YouTube videos that I watch, is the people that travel around in vans, you know, like Hannah Lee Duggan and Isabel Page. Well, she's not really in a van, but she's in a tiny house. But that's kind of my buzz at the moment, like my dream thing. Yeah, I'd definitely love to do that. What is your favourite poetry quote? I don't have a favourite, but I remember one that resonated with me a lot that I saw recently. I have a picture of it, but I can't remember the poet. Anyway, but it was lying takes a really good memory. Something like that. Lies need a good memory. Something like that. And then I also love Oscar Wilde quoted everything in the world is about sex, except for sex. Sex is about power. And I really liked that one as well. What else do I like? One that's not a poetry quote, but I just love it anyway, and kind of what I have to keep reminding myself as well when I'm trying to please people, especially living in London where I'm like meeting new people all the time, is to ask yourself if you like them rather than asking yourself if they like you. And I think it's a really important thing for everyone to live by, because especially if you're fond of overthinking and not fond of it, but your default is like overthinking everything you've said. Just remember and ask yourself if you actually like them. Do you care about their approval that much? Rather than keep constantly asking yourself if they like you, because it's more just like ego chasing if you're constantly wondering if someone likes you. Next one is how to be alone but not lonely. This is to relish in boredom. I think boredom is very vilified, and we need to be constantly entertained or stimulated by things. Like we're extensions of our phones, and I think that the more time we spend feeling bored, the more you get to know yourself, and the more you enjoy your own company, because I think people are scared of boredom so that they're alone with their own thoughts, or they have to address what they're actually like, or just to be alone with themselves. But the more time you spend alone feeling bored, the more you'll actually learn to enjoy your own company and like be able to talk to your thoughts, because I've said this before in other videos, but I see myself as two separate entities. And I've learned to like really like my own, enjoy my own company, just like sitting with myself. Some more practical solutions to that is obviously spend less time on your phone, eating without being stimulated. That sounds like people are masturbating during eating. No, but you know what I mean, like without watching something, just like eating and staring out the window and listening to yourself think. And it's really good. I really enjoy my own company and I love being on my own. Next is, do you ever disassociate and think you're in a simulation? If so, how do you deal with it? I've only really had to, I never actually knew what it was until my sisters explained it to me, because they suffer with it a lot worse than I do. But I started experiencing it during like the third lockdown. I've lost count. But at some stage during the pandemic, I've started experiencing disassociation, and to the point where if I'm picking my nose, I literally think it's someone else doing it. Or if you're looking down at your phone and you don't recognize your hands, or you feel like you have no control over what your body's doing, or you constantly feel like you're in a dream state. That's basically the way that I experience it. What you can do, there's a thing called grounding, where you like walk outside in your bare feet. Now I don't know how useful that is for people who live in like big cities. For me, like, it was really hard living in London, because I'm literally living in a block of flats in a busy city, so it's like hard for me to get myself out of it. And sometimes you can imbibe addiction that way by just like drinking your sorrows or taking substances. So to fight that habit and not fall into that trap is to definitely spend less time off your phone, and find whatever meditative state that you enjoy most. Like sometimes I can't meditate myself, like I can't sit down and focus on my breathing. I find it really hard. So my favorite meditative state is to just read, and that can take a lot of practice as well. Like if you haven't read in like a few months, and then you go back to reading after feeling like you're disassociating, it can be really hard to concentrate, and you feel like after you've read a page you can't remember anything that you've read. So you just have to keep practicing and try not to give up, as hard as it is. But they're the things that I would do. And probably like sitting in silence with people, because sometimes if I'm disassociated and I'm having a conversation, I'm really bad at listening, and I feel like then I'm a shit friend, and then you end up feeling worse about yourself. And so it's just to learn, if you have a really comfortable friend that you can be around and sit in silence with, that can be really helpful too. Next is, what's your fave quality in your lover boy? So what I think is most unique about him is that he's very gentle and understanding, while also simultaneously being very passionate. Because one of my like most despised character flaw in people is indifference. I find it repulsive, and I literally can't stand it. There's nothing that riles me up more than indifference. I don't even care if someone is passionately, I would prefer, no, that's actually bad. I was going to say, I prefer if someone is like passionately homophobic than not having an opinion on it. But I think even indifference to homophobia is as bad as being homophobic, if that makes sense. Like, that's the only example that I can think about it. But especially with like the Sarah Everard case and things like all these social injustice issues that arise, and then I'm talking to my friends about it, and then they have no opinion of it. I'm like, what? How do we not, are we not on the same wavelength here? I really don't understand it. And I hate when people are indifferent to issues like that. I just find it, anyway, that I went on a tangent there. But anyway, my lover boy is not indifferent at all, which is what I love about him. They're all the questions. Okay, great. Thanks so much. And now for the ad break. So this video is sponsored by Skillshare, who always sponsor me, so I'm sure you know. But if you're not aware, Skillshare is an online learning community that you can utilize if you want to learn something new or master an already existing skill. Since the start of the pandemic, my sleeping pattern is whack, and my social skills have definitely plummeted, which is why I like Skillshare. I can use my brain at any hour of the day or night, without the worry of social anxiety that comes with attending in-person classes. My intelligence being one of my main insecurities and is completely dependent on how much information I feed myself, Skillshare has helped me work on that in a fun, inclusive and easy way. My competitive nature can now toy with the idea of outskilling any of my enemies on any topic that I can think of. From gardening to doing my taxes. My personal favourites, as you probably all know already, would be creative writing, tarot cards and mental health. But whatever your personal interest, they have a class in it. Lucky for you, I have a link in my description for a free trial of premium Skillshare membership, so you can try it out for yourselves. Thanks so much again for sponsoring this video. I have more footage, so I thought I might as well answer more questions while I'm at it. So next question is, do you wish to keep up with social media or do you have any other career plans? So yeah, I really don't like the idea of like sticking to one career path, but the only thing that's been constant for me for the past few years has been social media, even though I've like dabbled in other things, like had a vintage shop and all that shit, and now I'm doing a lot of writing. And I've mentioned this in previous videos before, but I'd love to be able to sell a screenplay and make a movie or a film, whatever you want to call it. But I don't believe in the being bound to one career path. I feel it's very restrictive, and the idea of that makes me very depressed. So I will probably switch careers multiple times in my lifetime, which is, I think, is completely fine. And that way you can live 1,000 different lives. So yeah, I'd say for the moment is I would love to just continue writing. I would love to put together a prose and poetry book, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of scary though as well at the same time. As much as an outspoken person I am, and how much I like to share on the internet of myself, I am very fragile to criticism, obviously because of my conflated ego. So yeah, still working on that myself. But it's not necessarily that I'm scared of criticism from random people. It's more like I'm constantly trying to impress the people around me. So like my friends and family and that sort of thing. So if they're not happy with it, then I'd feel very, very shit about myself. But if like random people are criticizing me, I don't really mind. It's just more for like, I wanted to create something that's evoking an emotion. And that's like, I think is the most valuable thing that you can give to the world. If you make someone else evoke some sort of emotion, like love or nostalgia or something like that. Not necessarily like anger or, frustration, but like something lovely. So yeah, I want to create things that are nice, basically. Next question is, up the rear or up the ra? I'm assuming that the up the rear comment is an innuendo for sodomy. That's what I'm taking it as anyway, and I found it a very interesting question. So I would like to say up the ra. I'm not really an up the rear girl myself. I've never actually done anal before, so yeah. I was kind of on the fence about it. I used to say, oh well, it would be an economic disaster for the Republic if we took back the six counties, because we can barely look after ourselves because of the incompetency of the government, obviously. But then I thought, I want our independence. I want them back. Just out of pure patriotism. I just do want them back. And that's the end of it. So yeah, big up the ra. Sorry about it. Apologies to any nationalists I offended as well. I'm probably offending some unionists now. But yeah, that's my take on it. No, peaceful though. No sign of no violent. I don't condone violence. That's all I'm saying. And what perfume do you use so I can start using it because I'm a simp for you? That's a kind of cute question. I wear Zara Femme. I know, very anti sustainability from me, but it's a really nice perfume and very cheap. So, any tips for confidence in your abilities, imposter syndrome in a creative field? I literally still suffer with this all the time. Anything I create, I go through phases. Like, I literally stopped writing poetry for fucking 4 months because I was like, oh, I'm literally a piece of shit and no one cares. Even though I was getting all the validation I needed, I wasn't getting any negative responses from anything that I was putting on the internet or anything. It was just down to my own my own demons in my brain. And yeah, the voices in my head just telling me that I was constantly shit. And the things that I've been offered, even like when I get sponsorships, I'm like, I literally am self-deprecating anytime I do a sponsorship because I'm like, why are they asking for my video? Like, surely they know how much of a bad person I am. No. Yeah, so the best thing to do, it's all down to like your inner dialogue and reconditioning the way that you speak to yourself. What I found is that it's like cognitive behavioral therapy a little bit. So if you catch yourself being mean to yourself, being very bad English, Keelin. Yeah, if you're being mean to yourself and you find that you're telling yourself negative things, is to just rewrite the script. Oh my god, that's so like cliche life coach quoting from me. But literally, if you're looking in the mirror, it's like doing affirmations, but basically giving out to your own thoughts for being mean to you. And stop talking to yourself if you wouldn't speak to your best friend like that. It's just, if you're saying something mean to yourself that you wouldn't say to your best friend or your sister or whatever, stop saying it to yourself. That's basically how I've like rewired my brain to stop being mean. And if something brings you joy and is bringing you peace and fulfillment, just continue doing it. And it doesn't matter, like everything is subjective, all art's subjective. So if you're producing something and you're happy with it, that's all that matters. Jesus, yeah, that was very philosophical. Fuck. Okay, the last question I'm going to answer is what's your favorite memory ever? So around 3 or 4 years ago, no, must have been more than that, 5 years ago, my mom rented a Volkswagen camper van. And as you know, I'm a big fan of like van life, #van life. And we travelled around the Wild Atlantic Way. And I remember we were at some cliff in Sligo, can't remember for the life of me, very bad, obviously not a true Irish pure, but I remember when the waves were, this is going to be real poetic, the waves were crashing up against the shore and I just started bawling, and it's one of my favourite memories, and well, one of the ones that sticks out to me the most. And I remember just being so grateful for where I come from and just like for the elements of the world. Oh my god, so soppy. Okay, I'm going to end the video now. Thanks so much for watching and hope y'all have a great day.